Heyo! Vaytalix here. And of course, we're going to be playing some of that beautiful, beautiful Warpath. Now, to kind of get you guys familiar with this game, it's a mobile game. You can play it on your phone. You can get it on Android. Main thing with this game is that you've got, 4 or 5 kajillion different units to pick from. You got, Vanguard, which are the Germans, right? And this is a World War II era base game, so I'm going to just say it now. For future reference, we have the Martyrs, which are aka the Soviet Union, okay? And then we have Camp Liberty, which is kind of like a mishmash of American units, for the most part. Of course, there are some British in there. And I've noticed a few, we're just going to say allied powers. So, with that in mind, you fight against the Raven, which are really what appears to be some weird concocted version of the Germans that went horribly fucking wrong, and now they're out to take over the world. And your job is to essentially destroy the Raven and wipe them off the face of the planet. And of course, just like any other mobile game, it's got the RTS mechanics of what it feels like a toddler's version of Red Alert 2 or 3. And, of course, in terms of, game mechanics go, you've got heavy tanks, medium tanks, light tanks, you got anti-tank guns, you got yourself plenty of howitzers, artillery, and launchers. Now, in specifics, campaigns are really just more of a means to an end. Of course, infantry can get quite literally obliterated by bullets and missiles and tanks and blah, 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 and not do jibbity jack squit, but a goddamn artillery unit, or a launcher for that matter, will wipe them off the face of the planet, and that's because the game has some fundamentals. Meaning that if you're going to attack tanks, you use anti-tank, you're going to use tank hunters. If you're going to be killing infantry, you'll be using those Kakishka rockets, or you're going to be using artillery. And, of course, what are the tanks for? Well, tanks kill basically other tanks. So heavy tanks destroy medium tanks destroy light tanks, and light tanks destroy, quite confusingly, just about generally anything, but not everything. And then, of course, you got super heavy tanks, which are just tanks with a stupid amount of armor, right? Now, if you're wondering, all right, now how does someone with all this in mind, how does one know what counters what defends what, why do I use X and Y over what? The main thing is mobility, all right? Launchers, in the case of mobility, are unique to the Martyrs, or the Soviets, right? And they get Kakishka rockets, and they're really only applicable in 2 cases. Fortifications, aka destroying your enemy's base, or B, hitting infantry. And that's about it. That's all their purpose in life is. Try to use them on tanks and ain't gonna do jiggity frickin' squit. If, suppose, you decide that you're going to use, infantry, well, infantry are more of a fortification unit. They can take a lot of DPS and damage, but by God, if you get infantry in the middle of launchers or in the face of artillery, they are going to die in a matter of seconds as opposed to a few minutes. Most of the time, though, campaign is broken up into 4 parts, and you take over territory, which then increases the amount of components, as well as items that you get, plus, you get these little bullets called ammunition, and that's just the means of upgrading your units over time, which is then dictated by the research tree inside your research building, of course. And, you have to progressively work on this as you go along. Of course, you can pick heroes and aka officers for your actual units, and of course, in case you're brain dead, yes, there are only certain units that you should use with certain officers. In the case of the medic and the good zeal, Blondie from the Martyrs, alright, those be your infantry peoples, okay? You got a German dude with a mustache, and he's from the Vanguards, and he's for tanks. If you got a guy with an eye patch, he's okay in just about everything, but for the most part, he's good for tanks. And this particular heavy tanks. Now, of course, then you got yourself your Artie, and you got the Blondie with the goddamn white balaclava, and then, of course, you got a stupid, ripped, bald-headed Soviet soldier, and those two are both for artillery, okay? Now, with that in mind, you've probably just got the gist, or at least the easy scoop, on picking your heroes for whatever units that you're going to use at any given time. Now, of course, there are a couple of exceptions. Like, you got Percy, the red-headed chick. Then you got what I would call Bloody Mary. She's, these are all-around officers. You could use them anywhere you want or choose. And this is kind of true of the black, eye-patched mother trucker from the Vanguard. But the main thing that matters in this regard is that they're applicable to just about any other unit, but most of the time you just want to make sure you're using them for whatever case it is that you're going to use them for. Now, obviously, if you're going to be hitting like certain units like super heavy tanks, bring anti-tank, okay? Super heavy tanks are just a beast to deal with. And when you get a large quad of them, all right, I'm using heavy tanks. I'm using Nash horns, which are anti-tank tank hunters. I've got some Artie in there from Camp Liberty, and then I got some Vanguard units there. So I've got Tiger, I got an E50. In this case, I think that's still a Lion, but either way, the main thing is that, generally speaking, whenever you're going to be picking out your units, you want to know what units are best. Generally, you want one infantry unit so that you got something to fortify and take up all that DPS. You kind of need like medium to heavy tank to kind of deal with the tanks, and then you can get Artie to deal with all the infantry. And then you can get yourself like a super heavy tank to just eat up the rest. Now, that's not the only way to do it. Now, PvP, completely different situation. Mobility becomes a lot more important. So launchers, those Kakushka rockets, light tanks from the Camp Liberty branch. Or in the case of Vanguard, really the only thing they got going for them, really, as far as I can tell anyway, is the super heavy tanks. But the thing with the PvP side of it is mobility. Mobility is king. If you could traverse the map in a few minutes as opposed to a few hours, that's a big advantage. And in battle, you want to have that kind of traverse ability. Now, that isn't to say that that is not the only option you have at your disposal, but I will say that if you would like to consider subscribing, I would love if you hit the damn red, beautiful button at the bottom if you're interested in Warpath, because, frankly, I'm going to be doing a hell of a lot of content. Now, if you're wondering, what is my schedule for Warpath content? It's going to be more than likely Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then coming on the Saturdays of the week, I'll be doing a stream. And in case you guys want to learn or talk to me, check me out. It'll be at about 2 to 3 p.m. on a Saturday. And I'll be doing a stream. Then, of course, I will announce it and try to get you guys all up and about. But if that is something that interests you, then please consider subscribing and hit that beautiful like button. And, of course, that damn notification button. Because, the damn notification bell ain't gonna do it for itself. You have to do that, or otherwise damn YouTube won't recommend my content to you, and that would be a damn shame, because you'll wind up missing some of this beautiful, beautiful content I have here for you on this mobile game called Warpath. But, the thing with this game, right, in general, is that you're gonna be spending a shitload of time basically doing campaign. And then as you progressively do campaign, you can be upgrading your units and you're going to do research. Now, which one do you do first? My opinion, go through the military branch. It's a lot goddamn easier to go through and get the military research early on than it is to sit there and try to do all your goddamn tech tree shit in the beginning. It ain't worth the fucking time and effort. Just go ahead, get yourself militarily set up, figure out what camp you like, and stick with it. If you're going to work on, say, Camp Liberty, stick to that. Because ultimately in the beginning you can pretty much do fuck all as far as units go in the beginning. But towards the late game you cannot do that kind of bullshit. Eventually you gotta pick one and stick with it. Because there are more advantages to doing that than there is not doing that. Now ultimately through the campaign, as you can see here, it's more of a matter of just tapping, auto attack, and just letting them play. That's really all there is to it. Now, in terms of first impressions, right, I enjoyed this game. It's not bad. It's kind of fun. But you need to know some of the basic premises. And, of course, I've got some guides. So if you guys are interested in learning a little bit more about the game, I've got some more in-depth guides. So check those out as well, because you're going to be missing out if you haven't found them out already. Now, Of course, most of the map is broken up into chapters. So you've got every campaign, you got chapter 1 through, I think, like up to 6 right now. And every chapter is more of a metaphor for where you are in the game in terms of level progression. As you get to chapter 5, 6, and 7, well, obviously you're going to probably have access to more blueprints. And in case you don't know what blueprints are, those are going to increase the stats of your individual units. Now, if you don't know what the hell I'm talking about, what I'm basically saying is as you do the chapters and you go through and progressively do your campaign missions, you see I'm getting blueprints, and blueprints themselves upgrade certain unit types. And so as you work your way down through the campaign, you're ultimately going to have access to these unit parts. But the catch-all to that is that, of course, you need silver parts, and these silver part chests are kind of the key to being able to create said parts that increase said stats to said unit. And that is where you gotta save your damn gold. You gotta go around plundering, and you best damn by God be saving your gold wherever you can, because unlike any other pay-to-win game, the one thing they're gonna crack down on sooner than anything else is the goddamn gold supply that you have. So don't be wasting that shit on upgrades, and by God, don't be the guy that wastes all that shit on bullshit. Don't do it. But of course, whatever it is that you decide to do, just be mindful of this, okay? It's the one thing that matters most in the game of Warpath, But let me leave it off with this. If you guys are interested in kind of getting yourselves in the action of battle, then I highly recommend getting into an alliance, and then more importantly, you need to be working with your alliance to get hold of the structures in your server. Okay, because the one who does that in the beginning is ultimately going to be the one who wins. So don't be that dumbass going around hitting other alliances like you think you own the place, okay? That ain't gonna fucking fly with some of the major alliances. You will get your ass handicapped by 3 or 4 or 5, maybe even 6 different people at the same time coming after your ass. Don't do it. It ain't worth it. Alright? Now, I say that because I've seen one too many players make this mistake, and it is not pretty. Now, hopefully with these tips and tricks, it'll help you out in the future. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'll see you guys to the next video.